Well, hello. Today I'd like to talk to you about Adrian Tchaikovsky's book, Children of Time. Sorry, I forgot the name of the title. I brought along a friend to help me talk about it. This is Lucas. Say hi, Lucas. Nope, Lucas is shy. So you'll see why Lucas is making a guest appearance here in just a few minutes. So one thing I've never really liked about aliens in science fiction is that they don't actually seem very alien. They're humans with some makeup on, some bumps on their forehead, and maybe a horn or two. And often they're used to stand in for human cultures, like the Klingons of Star Trek are actually standing in for the 1960s area Soviets and that kind of thing. So I'm impressed when an author actually attempts to do aliens. Sometimes they do that using absent aliens, like Arthur C. Clarke's classic 2001, or more recent example, James S.A. Corey, with their, because it's two people, with their Expanse series. But, too often, when you actually do attempt an alien, the results are either not alien, or they're ridiculous. So Tchaikovsky did something smart. He recognized that there are aliens among us right here on Earth. I'm not talking about myself. All the animals on this planet are alien to our way of thinking to at least some degree. So he picked spiders, specifically the Portia genus of jumping spiders to be specific. Lucas is not a part of the Portia genus. He's a wolf spider or something. It's cute. But they look a lot like Lucas, which is why I keep dragging Lucas out here. So they are hunters found in Australia. They often hunt other spiders. They show the ability to learn and strategize. They don't eat each other, except when having sex. I mean, who doesn't like a good cannibalistic meal after a good round of sex? So sex, does not have a happy ending for the male of the species. So how does one go about writing a book about spiders? So the book actually begins with Dr. Kearns. Dr. Kearns is head of a research team that's terraformed a planet, and their next plan is to drop a bunch of monkeys on the planet along with a virus that is supposed to uplift them. In other words, help them evolve quickly. You might have heard of David Brin. In fact, they reference him Tchaikovsky references him in the book. David Brin talked about uplifting some species in his books, which I haven't read in 20-some years. But anyway, disaster strikes. One of the crew members is a saboteur, ends up killing the expedition and the monkeys. But Dr. Kearns has a remarkable instinct for self-preservation, even if it's at the expense of others. She ends up freezing herself in a capsule and uploads her personality to an AI, an artificial intelligence. And then she begins broadcasting a signal and waiting for the monkeys to become evolved enough that they're capable of understanding and responding. Meanwhile, this little explosion is just kind of the first whammo of a massive war among the humans, a civil war. As a result of the wars, the surface of Earth is pretty wrecked. The Earth ends up descending into an ice age. Humanity goes almost extinct and even descends almost to the Stone Age level. But they get better. And they do have relics of this old technology left around. So as Earth begins to warm, they realize all the toxins left from that war are frozen in the glaciers. And when released, Earth will be too toxic for them to survive. So they escape by scavenging the remains of technology left by that old empire, but that had the Civil War. And they build 6 hibernation ships, which if you're not into science fiction, that's ones where you're frozen and then you're thawed out when you get to where you're supposed to go to. And then they set off into the universe in different directions looking for a new home. knowing where some of these terraformed worlds are and such. And that's where we get into trouble. And so that gives us our third plot line. So we've got Dr. Kearns, who has herself frozen. We've got the spiders, and we've got the humans. So the humans are on one of those ships who are desperate for the home, and the ship is basically patched together with technology they don't understand well, and starting to fall apart because it's old. Our human viewpoint character is an older classicist named Holston. He's not a scientist or a soldier. He's somebody who's studied the old language of the old empire. He's somebody who studied a little bit the old technology and old cultural things. So he knows history. And I'm just going to confess right here, the humans were the least compelling part of the story. I really didn't get attached to any of them when one died. It was just like, oh well. I mean, it was kind of horrifying when the one ended up spending the rest of her... Sorry, motorcycle or something went by. Spending the rest of her life as a prisoner of spiders that she couldn't communicate with because they don't have ears. There was the whole horrifying person gets eaten by a giant ant thing, which I got to come back to that here. But yeah, the humans were, I just didn't connect with them. Even Holston felt like an outsider. Well, he was kind of an outsider because everybody else is either crew of the ship, they're an engineer, they're a scientist, they're a soldier, they're something useful, and he's just like, well, I know old books and old languages. So, they have their adventures. They visit several planets and during this whole thing. And I don't want to get into all that because that's why you read the book. But what I did want to get into is when the story first got going is when this spaceship first arrives at the terraformed planet and sees a dream world. Green. Trees. Earth as it was. A little bit higher oxygen content, but Trouble is, Dr. Kearns' AI is extremely defensive and armed, and has also gone a bit nuts during this whole period. So Dr. Kearns does not allow them to land. Now, through different shenanigans, Holston and a couple others do get a very, very nightmarish brief glimpse of the surface of the planet where they land and take off almost right away. But that's all they get to see. And during that time, they get to see giant spiders and giant ants and yipe, nightmare fuel. So, meanwhile, on the planet, the spiders have developed a civilization. So the way the author brings us into this is he exposes us to 8 or 9 different generations of the spiders as they evolve. And because spiders wouldn't have names as we know them, because they don't have vocal cords, he just gives them names. The main viewpoint spider is Portia, Portia, by the way, so if I'm mispronouncing that, sorry. And then, as needed, there's a Bianca, a Viola, and a Fabian. Fabian gets to be the boy spider. And again, Portia is usually the viewpoint character until Fabian actually gets his own chapter. So we advance through the first Portia and Fabian, discovering that they can work together to hunt another spider. And then they have sex and Portia eats him. But over time, as they evolve, they do develop a civilization. Now they live quite differently from humans. You don't have mommy spider and daddy spider because mommy eats daddy spider. But the mommy spiders do start developing some self-control where like, okay, maybe I won't eat you at the end of sex. And some of the boy spiders are like, I don't like being eaten, and they're starting to argue about that. So, but their communication is quite different. They don't speak in words so much as, twangs on webs and thumps and vibrations and things. And the author does make some nods toward biology. Lucas could never be this big without a lot more oxygen because there's just not enough oxygen. It would be very hard to flow it around his body with the way spiders work. And The exoskeleton doesn't work the greatest at a large size. So the author does mention the evolution of an internal cartilage system, and he does make some nods toward improving a spider's book lungs. And other species are uplifted by the virus too. Ants discover metallurgy. Now, of course, the individual ants aren't very bright, but as a group, just like now, they can accomplish quite a lot, which includes apparently metallurgy. And the spiders learn how to use them as biological computers and biological factories. And other arthropods also develop, to different levels of success. Of course, the humans, Dr. Kearns, and the spiders are on a collision course, because as it turns out, we've got one nice world, and the spiders are already there, and Dr. Kearns doesn't want the humans there. So I will say it was resolved relatively quickly and fairly satisfactorily. The tool used to solve it is one that always makes me uncomfortable, but it did come to a resolution, satisfying, and even a happy ending. So I guess that's good. Now, does this book give you an alien mind and an alien culture? Yes. How alien? Well, first of all, they're spiders, so they're not true aliens. But second of all, an author has to walk a fine line. You go too far, and humans, readers, can't relate to them anymore. You lose the reader. I'm going to paraphrase Robert Heinlein. I was trying to find the reference, and I could not find it, and it's possible it's not Robert Heinlein. But anyway, he talks about how a Martian wrote a book describing his daily life on Mars, sent it to a publisher here on Earth. The publisher refused to publish it because it was just too weird. Nobody's going to believe it. So I think Tchaikovsky found a happy place with an alien species without making them totally alien. There is apparently a sequel out there. I've got a couple other books I want to read first, but I think before summer's out, I'm going to try it. So, good thing about summer is now I have a little more free time to read. So you can look forward to a book review. I'm hoping to do this every other week on Monday. It was supposed to be at 3, but, out there is where I spent my day. So, and I'm hoping to start doing driving videos the week I don't do a book review. Do those maybe 8 or 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. I think one of those is when I used to publish them anyway. So I've got time now, and my big digging is done, so probably expect a gardening video soon too. I got a lot of cleanup to do yet, but it's just so slow getting the garden in this year. So, but we've talked about why in another video, so I won't rehash that. But anyway, I want to thank you for watching, and yes, this is a book I recommend reading. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.